Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Jacob, and in this video we're going to learn all about the Draggable Elements plugin inside of Bubble so that we can build cool and interactive user interfaces like this, where users can grab different elements on our page and drag them around wherever they want. And the way that we're going to approach this is we're going to look at a particular problem that I think comes up quite regularly when you're building any kind of app. A lot of apps will have a type of interface like this where users need to be able to reorder things inside of a repeating group, so reorder list items. And if we look at this example right here, these are things that I apparently need to do today. What we want to do is we want to, in this case, allow our users to prioritize different things that they want to do. So if I decide, for example, that doing the laundry is not as important as feeding the cat, maybe I could grab laundry here, I could drag it right underneath feed the cat, and what would we expect to happen as a user? The second that I release this, we would expect laundry to fit in between feed the cat and read for at least 30 minutes, and the rest of the items in this list would kind of reorder themselves. So that's the problem that we're going to take a look at. Right now, you can see laundry just jumps back to the top of the list, but we'll solve that together. The other little nuance here, the other extra cool little feature is we can mark these to-do items as complete or incomplete. And what we'll do is when we do mark them as complete, they will jump to the bottom of the list and we'll automatically kind of sort that for our users so that items that I still need to complete, things I still need to do, will be always at the top of the list. The first thing we're going to do is let's just look at what's going on in this app. Right now, I have a repeating group on this page. This repeating group is a list of to-dos. And what is a to-do? A to-do is a data type that I've created. It has three fields: done, which is yes or no. So when you saw me marking things as complete or incomplete, that's what that workflow is doing. It's changing that to-dos done to either yes or no. We have order number, which is going to be really important. We'll come back and talk about this later. And then, of course, the title, the thing that I actually need to do. But to begin, let's talk about this Draggable Elements plugin right here. And we'll just get a little bit of practice with it. So this Draggable Elements plugin, it's a free one, built and maintained by Bubble themselves. And you can see that this plugin comes with two different elements that we're going to take a look at. So this drag and drop group, as well as a drop area here. Let's go to a test page. And if I scroll down to containers, because I have this plugin installed, Draggable Elements, we can see that there are those two elements that we were talking about a second ago. I'm going to take a drop area and just drag it onto my page like this. And we'll also take a drag and drop group and drag it onto the page here as well. And I'm just going to change the background style of this group. We'll give it a little bit of color so that we can actually see what's going on. And a drag and drop group works very similar to a normal group. We just have a few more properties that we can control here. So we can make this group draggable or disable. By default, it is a draggable group. We can disable the ability to drag this group. We can make this element droppable, which I'm going to check off right now. And what happens, the behavior post drop. So what happens when I drop this group onto a drop area? Right now, we'll leave this as hide. But that is how this works. We can also constrain the movement within the parent. Right now, the parent is just the page in this example. We won't really look at this right now. But if I click on preview, we can see that just right out of the gate, we have this draggable element right here. And if I drag it onto this drop area, first of all, we can see that this drop area changes colors as this group is dragged on top of it. And if I let it go, you can see that the behavior post drop, it disappears, right? Now, that's not so useful in and of itself. It's kind of cool that we can drag stuff around on the screen, but of course we want to do more than that. When we're going to reorder items, what are we doing? We are actually going to be changing things in our database when a drag group is dropped on top of a drop area, right? So the way that we're going to do this is if we go back to plugins, you can see that this Draggable Elements plugin, in addition to these two elements, it comes with this event that is a drop area has a group dropped on it. And that's what we're going to take a look at right now. So if I go to the design page, or the design tab rather, and I click on this drop area, I'm going to right click, scroll to the bottom and say start edit workflow. And that is the event that we just created. I could also have gone here to add an event. And if I go elements, you can see because we have that plugin installed, that event is right there. Okay, so when drop area A has a group dropped on it, that's the event, and we want something to happen inside of our workflow here. Now you'll notice if I click on this event that we can define a type of thing that can be passed into this drop area. This is kind of similar to custom events, if you've ever used those before, where you can pass data into the custom event and then use that data inside of your workflow here. So we're going to do the same thing. When drop area A has a group dropped on it, I'm going to say that we're going to expect, just for this example, we'll say that we'll expect a to-do from our database to be dropped onto this group, onto this drop area, sorry. And then what we can do is inside of our actions here, we can reference that to-do that gets dropped into this drop area. Just to show you this, let's put an alert on our page. There it is. And let's just position this at the top. And inside of our workflow, when this drop area has something dropped on it, we'll go element actions, show an alert message, and we'll change the alert message and we'll say, this drop area just had the to-do. We'll put the title of the to-do here. So insert dynamic data. And this current workflow's custom to-do is the to-do that we've defined right here. Okay, so we'll say current workflow custom to-dos title. Dropped on it. And what we'll do then is I'm going to go to the design tab and I'm going to click on this group right here, the drag and drop group A. And remember, we said that drag and drop groups are basically just like other groups, except they can be dragged. So we're going to say that the type of content for this group is going to be a to-do. And the data source, we're going to say, let's just search for a random to-do. So we'll say search for to-dos in our database, and we'll choose a random item. Now, if this stuff that I'm going through right now is confusing for you, this should just be kind of fundamental bubble stuff in terms of passing data to a group and just moving data around inside of your app. So if this is unfamiliar, I'm not going to cover any of this stuff in this video. We're going to focus more on the Draggable Elements plugin. But if you are confused about that, I'll have other videos, and you can also take a boot camp with me where we go into some of the more fundamental stuff. Anyways, let's continue. We have a random to-do being loaded into this group right here. And what that means is, let's actually just put a text element in here too so that we can see what that to-do is. I'll just say insert dynamic data, parent groups, to-dos, title. And let's preview this. Okay, so there's the random item. We have laundry. And if I drag and drop this into this drop area just had the to-do laundry dropped on it, right? So we can actually pass data into this drop area and use that data inside of our workflows is the point I'm trying to get across there. Okay. So using that example, let's jump over to our other page here and dive into this repeating group to take a look at what's going on here. Now, like I said, I just have a repeating group with a list of to-dos. This first group right here that I've selected, group to-do container, let's just look at this in the elements tree right here. This group is actually a draggable group, but I haven't put in a drop area yet. And that's what I need to do next. So obviously, if we have draggable groups, they need to be dropped into a drop area. That's the way that this plugin works. So inside of this first cell of the repeating group, I'm going to scroll down, take a drop area here, and we'll just place this right there. Now I'm also, let's make this take up the full width here. We'll change this to row, and we'll say that it won't fit height to content. I'm also going to change the border style so that there's nothing here, and we'll change this to 100% see-through. And now we have this drop area inside of this repeating group. The repeating group layout, by the way, I just have set to align to parent so that they can kind of just be over top of each other like that. Now the tricky part gets in, right? So let's just talk about how this is going to work. Right now, if we go to the database, we have this order number here. And what I want to do is I want to sort the repeating group based on the to-dos order number with descending set to no, so that the lowest number is always at the top of the group, right? So we'll go to design. We'll say search for to-dos, and we're going to sort by that order number where descending is equal to no. The way that I like to do this is, let's say that we take practice piano and we drop it in between these two items right here, okay? So that I want this to be in between make a video for YouTube and figure out what I want to do with life. What we're gonna do, instead of having to worry about changing every single item on this list, the order number there, which would be a little bit crazy, we're just going to change the order number of practice piano to whatever it's to a number that is in between the order number of make a video for YouTube and figure out what I want to do with my life. Okay. So let's just assume right now that the order number for make a video for YouTube is 4, and the order number for figure out what I want to do with my life is number 5. What we would do is we would change it to, in this case, we could say 4 plus 5, 9 divided by 2. We could change the order number to 4.5 so that it fits right in between here. And we're still going to show whatever the current cell's index is. So the user wouldn't see 4.5 here. They would just see the current cell's index. But because we're sorting by that order number, obviously 4.5 is in between 4 and 5. And so that order would stay fixed. And that's the approach we're going to take. Every time we drag an item here, we're just going to make a change to that order number, and we're going to change it to be a number in between whatever those two neighbors are for that order number, if that makes sense. Okay. Let's take a look at how we're going to do this now. We're going to use custom states, and I'm going to create a custom state on this drop area A. Now, every time I do this demo, I usually screw it up. So I might screw it up in real time here, but we'll figure it out along the way. So drop area A, let's set a custom state. And what I want to do is I want to hold the index of whatever item is below the current item. Okay, so I'm just going to call this state next index. We're going to set the state type to be a number. And there we go. All right. And then we're going to use that event that we already looked at. So I'm going to set up a workflow here. Well, let's right click and we'll say start edit workflow for this drop area A here. And we'll say that when drop area A has a group on it, or has a group dropped on it, first of all, let's define what type of thing is going to be dropped into this group. And of course, that is going to be the to-do that gets dropped in. So we have a to-do that we're working with. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to set that custom state of this drop area that has a group dropped on it to capture the next index. So I'm going to start by saying element actions, set state. The element that we want to set the state of is going to be drop area A. The custom state is next index, and the value is going to be current cell's index plus 1. That will give us the index of the next cell, right? Then what do I want to do? I want to make changes to a to-do. I want to change that order number, right? And I want to change it to which to-do do I want to change? I want to change the one that was dropped onto drop area A, which I've defined right here. I've said that this drop area A can expect a to-do to be dropped on it. So we're going to say data, make changes to thing, and that thing is going to be the current workflow's custom to-do, and the field that we're going to change is going to be the order number. Now, this is where the logic gets a little bit, not messy, but it's just going to be a long expression here. So what do we want to do? We want to take the order number of the current index, the to-do, the current index is to-do, right? Whatever index we're in, and the order number of the next indexes to-do. We want to add those two together and then divide it by 2. And that will be the new order number for this to-do that just got dropped into this drop area. So the logic for that is going to be, we can say, let's get repeating group to-dos, list of to-dos, and we'll say item number, current cells index, right? So whatever to-do we have in the current cells index, order number, plus the next indexes to do. So we'll say, and how are we going to know what the next one is? We're going to know using this custom state right here. So repeating group to-dos, list of to-dos, item number, drop area A's, next index, order number. So take those two to-dos order numbers and add them together. And then we'll just say divided by 2. Right? If this cell's order number is 4 and the next cell's order number is 5, we add those together and we divide it by 2 and we get 4.5. So this current workflow to do that was just dropped between them should sit nicely right there. Okay. Let's preview this and hopefully we've set things up properly. We'll deal with these done items in a second here. But let's take laundry and drag it in between grocery shopping and practice piano. And there we go. We can see that grocery shopping is up top now. Laundry is in position 2. If I take laundry and move it down there, we can see that it's in between feed the cat now and read for at least 30 minutes. And now as a user, I can go and start prioritizing whatever I need to prioritize, right? And if I drag this up here, does that still work? Feed the cat. So we still would need to maybe figure out, there are going to be a few nuances here. For example, when I drag feed the cat to the bottom, we'd have to deal with dragging to the last index and also dragging to the top. Okay, so let's try to fix this so that if we drag an item to the top of the list here, that it goes to position 1, and vice versa. If we drag something to the bottom of the list, that it goes to the bottom. And then finally, we'll work on this feature where if I check something off, it automatically goes to the bottom. We don't even actually need to use the draggable plugin for that at all, because we're just going to be clicking on an icon inside of a group, inside of a repeating group. Okay, so let's try to figure this out here. When drop area A has a group dropped on it. Now, right now, this works perfectly, this workflow, as long as the drop area that we're dropping on is not in the last index or the first index. So let's try to do this. Why don't we do it this way? We'll say only when this drop area, or we'll say, let's see, current cells index is not 1, and current cells index is not repeating group to-dos, list of to-dos, count. So as long as the current cells index is not 1, meaning it's not the first item on the list, and as long as it's not the last item, which all I'm doing here is I'm just saying, look at this repeating group that we're dealing with, count how many to-dos. As long as the current cells index is not that last item, then this will run. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy and paste this event here. And we will clear this condition. Or actually, let's just reverse it. So we'll say current cells index is 1, or current cells index is repeating group list of to-dos last item, the count, right? Now, what do we want to do if this is the case? All we want to do is, we're still expecting a to-do to be dropped here. So we just need to change the order of the to-do, like make it the lowest number. If it's the first item in the list, or the largest number if it's the last item. So we'll set up 2 of these. Let's clear this and just start from scratch. We're going to still be making changes to the current workflow's custom to do, and we are still changing the order number. Let's say that we want to change the order number. We'll set up a condition here. So only when current cells index is 1, we'll start with going to the top of the list. Why don't we just say the order number is equal to, let's think about this. Let's say repeating group to-dos, list of to-dos, first item. So grab the first item from that list, order number, and let's just subtract it by 1. Or actually, let's just divide it by 2, because I was just thinking that might get us into some weird stuff with the negatives. So let's just keep dividing it by 2. Okay, and we'll see if that works in a second. And then I'm just going to copy this. And in step 2, when the current cells index is repeating group to-dos, list of to-dos, count, then we'll say, at this point, we can just say the order number will be repeating group to-dos, list of to-dos. Instead of first item, we'll say last item, and we'll just say order number plus 1 instead of divided by 2. Okay. So hopefully we did that properly. We'll take feed the cat and we'll put it up top here. And there we go. Feed the cat jumps to the top of the list. If I take practice piano and I put it to the bottom, then it drops there and everything else shifts. So great. Everything's looking good. Things are behaving as we would expect them to as a user. And then the last feature that we need, and this is going to be the easiest, I think, is if we check this as done, it should move to the bottom of the list. And then the behavior at the bottom, this is a user experience question, really, like what should happen if I uncheck something. Let's just make it simple for ourselves, and we'll say that if something is at the bottom of the list and marked as done, then when we uncheck it, it will go to the top of the list. Okay, so we'll go to our workflows here. Let's reveal this in the elements tree. And this is what we want to click on here. When this is clicked, we'll make changes to the to-do. You can see right now I'm changing I'm just changing it to this to-do is done is no, so it'll mark it as yes or no, depending on whether it's done or not, or what state we're in, rather. The other thing that I want to do is we'll say make changes to thing. The thing that we want to change, let's say the result of step 1, so we're still making changes to that to do. And we're going to say that the order number is equal to, let's say when I'm marking this as done, so when it's complete, that's what we'll deal with right now. So the order number should be the last item at this point, right? We want to move it to that bottom of the list. So we'll say order number equals repeating group to-dos, list of to-dos, last item's order number plus 1, only when the result of step 1's done is yes. If I'm marking it as done, we'll move it to the bottom. I'm just going to copy this action here. And we'll say that when it is no, so when it's not done, when we're unchecking it, then we'll do what we did before. So we'll say the order number is equal to repeating group list of to-dos, first item, order number, and we'll say divided by 2. Okay, preview this. We'll uncheck this and check it again. And when we check it again, it should go to the bottom of the list. There we go. And pretty cool. We're knocking stuff off of our list. If I uncheck this, it goes back to the top, and I can sort this in whatever way I want. Okay. So that's everything that we had to do. I hope that you found that helpful. If you keep building applications, especially if you're building applications for clients, you're very likely to encounter a situation like this where you'll need to build some sort of feature where you need to reorder a repeating group like this. And a draggable interface is definitely one that's nice and one that we're used to as users, I think. So anyways, hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.